Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. On the agenda tonight, we're continuing the rockabilly theme of the weekend by having a look at the Collins Kids, and this is going to be coming from 1957, and it's going to be their performance of Hop, Skip and Jump. So let's get these two up on screen and see how they get on.
Keep it a jump to where my baby's at. It's a hop, skip it a jump to where my baby's at. It's just a few more hops and I'll be bopping with that cat. There's a real cute boy who lives next door and he can bop the blues. He sits around all day long in his boxing shoes. He bops so long he don't know what to do. It's just a hop, skip it a jump to where my baby's at. It's just a hop, skip it a jump to where my baby's at. It's just a few more hops and I'll be bopping with that cat. Skip it a jump to where my baby's at. It's just a hop, skip it a jump to where my baby's at. It's just a few more hops and I'll be bopping with that cat. It's just a hop, hop, skip it a jump. 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 Just a hop, skip a jump to where my baby's at.
And there we go. So the first thing to point out is the way that Larry Collins jumps around and he's dancing all the time. And I don't know how Laurie actually keeps it all together. Laurie Collins, when she's singing, I think at some point she has to almost put her hands out to try and stop Larry from bumping into her because he's all over the place. Another thing is the way that he manages to avoid stepping on his guitar lead throughout the whole performance. I'm sure all of those guitarists out there who are watching this, who have played on stage and have had to move around quite a lot, you're so conscious of where your lead is to make sure that you don't step on it. If you are moving around a large stage quite a lot, it's so easy to accidentally step on that lead. Sometimes you can loop it through your guitar strap so that it doesn't come out if you do step on it. But here, Larry is absolutely going for it, and he either knows exactly where that lead is or he's just getting away with it because he's kicking his legs so high and he's just always avoiding it. But it is so easy to step on a lead and yank it out of your guitar by accident, especially when this kind of energy is going on. And getting into the playing, those of you who've seen the Joe Mayfist video that I did will recognize this guitar because it's exactly the same. It's by Mosrite, this double neck guitar we've got here, and the top guitar, even though Larry doesn't play it here, that's generally, or used to be, tuned just to an octave above the standard tuning that's the guitar that Larry's actually playing in this. But interestingly, Joe actually worked with Larry. Obviously Joe's 20 years older, but they did a bit of instrumental stuff together, but very much of the same ilk, playing the same guitar as Joe Mayfist, somebody that Larry certainly would have looked up to. The style of music, rockabilly and country, I always say this, that the guitar sound is so clean that your techniques have got to be top notch because it stands out like a sore thumb if you're missing notes and making mistakes. Obviously in other genres you can hide a little bit in distortion and delay and reverb and other effects if you want, but certainly it's just a matte finish with country music and rockabilly. And Larry actually does some backing vocals as well as playing the guitar and dancing, and because his voice hadn't broken yet, it's quite funny because his voice is higher than his sister's who's doing the lead vocal, so he could easily get up to those harmony lines. But of course you've got to be musical enough in the first place to be able to hit these harmony lines and sing, and that's what the Collins Kids were. Larry and Laurie were just naturally talented. They had a gift for music which their parents saw, and it actually ended up in their parents moving to California in order for them to pursue music. Their performances and their music was very much aimed at that family demographic and at kids as well, because Larry would have only been 10 in 1954 when they're performing on Town House Party, whereas here's a few years later, so 1957, he would have been 13 here, and this is from Tex Ritter's Ranch Party, but I feel like saying Ranch Party because my American accent is coming along slowly, very slowly but surely. But this is back in that time where families would get together and just watch a few channels that they had on TV. There weren't a whole lot of channels around at this time. So the kind of entertainment that was on show was very much family-based, family-orientated, and tended to just include country performances and rockabilly performances. Laurie was the girlfriend of Ricky Nelson in the late 50s, so the same time that this video was shot, she actually appeared with him in a show called The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Apparently it was really popular over in the USA, but I'm taking the internet's word for that because we never got it here in the UK. But a month after she appeared on it, Larry then appeared on it as well. And then in 1959, she actually got married, and she would have only been 17 at that time, and she got married to Johnny Cash's manager, who was twice her age, and in 1961, just a couple of years after getting married, she then had her first child. So I think at that point, things probably started to slow down a bit, and life started to happen, and priorities probably changed, but she did continue performing with Larry, and they kept performing throughout the 60s. And Larry actually started playing rockabilly pop, or he changed a little bit of his style because they weren't performing as much together, and he then started pursuing his own playing and moving away from that sound of the Collins kids. After exploring different avenues, Larry came back to country music and started to write and co-write, and he actually co-wrote Delta Dawn, which was a top 10 hit in 1972, and that was with Tanya Tucker, and it was actually a number one the year later in 1973, and that was Helen Reddy that performed at that time. So, you know, he could write as well. Just going back to talking about what's going on here musically, because we've just got that one lead vocal. Like I said, Larry does do backing vocals as well as dancing around a lot. But back in the days with country music, sometimes there'd be a band of like 8 or 10 members who are all top players, and you get a really nice full sound. Whereas here, the Collins kids just having a guitar and vocals and clapping along. There's no drummer here. I've never seen a video of them in a full setup. I think certainly the way that Larry jumps around and it's just all over the place is very much he is the focus because of what he's doing. Even though the vocals are great by Laurie as well, but you can't help but look at Larry when he's playing. But it's cool that he could be that good at playing to make it look that easy and jump around so much. And we're only talking of a 13-year-old here. There are plenty of players who are trying to play the same thing, playing lead breaks, who would struggle just standing still. So it's really impressive that Larry actually had this down at such a young age, but also had that entertainment down too. But this video is a nice little bookend for the last 2 or 3 videos that I've featured, because they've all been that rockabilly country sound, a little bit of rock and roll in there as well. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!